Why are you excited to be here tonight?
Because I'm just excited.
Yeah. No other explanation. Now, I do believe, tell me the truth. Is it true that your dad has a ringside seat, but didn't get you guys ringside seats?
That is true, but it's because of his YouTube channel, okay? It's his YouTube, okay?
Her dad's an influencer. Let him go, guys. But your dad's awesome, right?
Yeah.
See, he's awesome. Yeah! Give it up for Claire. Thank you so much, Claire. High five. Yeah.
If it wasn't discrimination, and you have the nerve, you have the nerve to sit there on your high horse and preach to these bottom-feeding dwellers who sit in the chat room, like Alliance Blog, who's been doing this for over a decade and still only got 2,000 followers. Yeah, I see you. You're a jabroni and a ham sandwich, and I don't want to hear from you ever again about what the NWA is supposed to do. This is what pro wrestling is supposed to be. This is what the NWA is supposed to be. No. You don't tell anyone what the NWA is supposed to be, and you certainly don't lecture me about what the NWA is supposed to be. I made the NWA.
Here's the story now. If I see Kevin Owens, or even someone who looks like Kevin Owens, I drop them on sight.
Welcome. It's party time! So, what day is it today?
Tuesday?
Wrong. It's NWA Day.
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
I was thinking that it might be a good idea if you and I formed an alliance.
Let's get ready to rumble! Attention, everyone.
Welcome to the greatest wrestling program in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
Okay, let's party.
It's the pre-party with J. Cal.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. Again, my name is Jay Cal. Each and every Tuesday, I come to you to talk some NWA wrestling. No, I'm not Kevin Owens. Idiotic Central, I can't break down and crash out every time that I go live when someone calls me Kevin Owens. That's reserved just for the TikTok audience, not when we're on YouTube, sir. We can't do that on YouTube. We're a monetized channel. We have respect. I can't crash out every time someone calls me KO. All right, that's the last one for today. Sam Retro's in the house. What is up, Sam? What's going on? Idiotic Central. Well, I mean, I get it. That's cool. Willie Bowen's in the house. Jeremy was here just to say, hey, everybody. I'm in the meetings. Let's see. I'm missing some more of the comments. Let's go. Steve G's in the house. Jeremy also said, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Also, leave a comment after the stream. It helps with the algorithm. Noob is in the house. What's up, Noob? Let's see. Willie Bowen says, hey, Jake, I'll check out the next pie per view of it featuring Tyrus and the Fixers. Oh, my God. That would be absolutely horrible. Just the worst. This is why Nick Aldis is the best SmackDown GM. Don't at me, everyone. Because he ran me down, Noob? I didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve to be ran down by Nick Aldis. He called me a ham sandwich, called me a jabroni, and he didn't want to hear from me again. Little does he know that I bought stock in TKO, so technically I'm his boss now. That's not a true story. None of it's true. Let's see. Wiccan. Hey, Wiccan, what's going on? Thanks for coming over. This is so on Tuesdays we talk NWA wrestling when we're here on the YouTube channel. Of course, it's a kind of a free-for-all when we're on the TikTok stream, but on YouTube, we're talking to NWA. Please hang out, see what this is all about, and see if it's something you enjoy. Soto said, I hear today's episode is a special one. They're all special, Soto. Every single one of them. Jay, did you stream about an hour ago? Yeah, I was on the YouTube at a vertical live stream the same time I was on TikTok with a vertical live stream, and now we're on YouTube and TikTok. One is vertical, one is horizontal. I'll let you figure it out. But yeah, we're just trying to cast that net as wide as possible to find like-minded wrestling fans to join our community. Again, like the NWA fan base is not the biggest fan base, and so my goal is to try to bring more fans to the NWA with the hopes and the dreams that we galvanize the fan base behind the National Wrestling Alliance, and our voice being loud enough that they hear it and make the show better. Billy, are you listening? Probably not. Idiotic Central said, "Hey, KO, I bought your new Mattel WWE Elite figure, Series 116. Harley said, Kevin, when are you coming back to WWE? Harley, you just made the list. I have it still. I can write it down on the list. J-Cal, when is Nick going to be a guest? I don't think Nick will ever be a guest. As much as I like talking to pro wrestlers, I don't think that Nick Aldis would ever come on my show. In fact, there's a story that my good friend Jaden reached out via Cameo to Mickey James to make a plug video for the Alliance blog, and she refused because, well, old Nikki might have a problem with that. So Nikki and Mickey, wish him the best. Only good things. Can I get Adam Pearce? No. I can't get anybody. I can't get anyone from the WWE. I was hoping I could get Scorpio Sky, but that didn't even happen. This is my Kevin Owens action figure. I have another one somewhere too, but this is the one that's most recent. All this has blocked quite a few Alliance Wrestling community members because Nick Aldis is a baby, man. He's got soft skin. It's like he's never heard criticism before. And someone explained it to me once before what their opinion of Nick Aldis was, and basically said, look, in a world where everyone is so negative, he will choose who he interacts with, which is fine. But it's also gives off the same aura of the baby in the corner going, la, 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 la. Like, okay, dude, if you can't handle some criticism, then you probably got the wrong business. Just saying. Idiotic Central. This one was, I think I bought that one. I have another one that was a gift, but that was one I bought. Noob said Scorpio Sky beats the worst wrestler alive, Max Caster. I'm glad you brought that up because Scorpio Sky, friend of the show, right? You guys didn't know Scorpio Sky back in the day was on this podcast. Well, not this podcast. He was on the Alliance Blog podcast. And that was back when we were an audio only podcast. And that was back when we were on Blog Talk Radio. And at that point in his career, he had just debuted for TNA Wrestling. I forgot what name he was using, but it really looked like he was about to blow up. And then shortly after that, he was doing the skits in the WWE with Kane and Bryan Danielson as part of the what was it? It was like an anger management type skits, and so Scorpio Sky was a part of those too. And and so we were really pushing for him. Like he's a good dude, and I'm really happy for all the success that he has. Making his debut in AEW, his return to AEW after what was it, almost a 2-year sabbatical. Like that was crazy. And I can't believe that he was out of wrestling for 2 years. Real quick, shout out to Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. That's wrestling royalty as far as I'm concerned. So what's up, dude? Thanks for checking out. Hopefully one day, no, I'm just kidding. I'm getting all over the place now. Hey, Matthew, real quick, Teddy Long didn't pass. His son passed away, which is still very, very sad. But Teddy Long is still okay as far as I know. But getting back to Mason Andrew, thank you, Retro Mason Andrew. So real quick, making his return to AEW last Saturday, part of Collision. What sucks is I was there and I left early because I did 5 hours of wrestling in 3 days, and I was not 5 hours. That would have been nice. It was about 7 hours of wrestling, maybe not 8 hours of wrestling, and I was just beat. That's a lot. When you get to be my age, that's a lot. And I had gone to the Epic Pro Wrestling event where I saw Scorpio Sky take on Royce Isaacs, former NWA Tag Team Champion, and Royce was defending the Epic Heavyweight Championship against Sky. Great matchup. That was on Saturday night. Then on Tuesday night, got to see Scorpio Sky versus Ray Jazz. A lot of people know Ray Jazz from his time on the East Coast. He's been a part of the United Wrestling Network for some time now. And I think you're going to see a lot more of Ray Jazz doing both Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and Gotham Wrestling when they come out. And then there he was on Wednesday night, and I missed it. I had actually taken off and missed his debut. But yeah, Scorpio Sky is one of my favorite wrestlers. Good dude. I've hung out with him outside of. I say that very loosely. I've spent a lot of time talking to Scorpio Sky throughout the years. Great guy. I like him a lot. But I don't know where I was going with that. Noob says, I thought you did podcasts on Spotify. Noob, we're still on Spotify. The Alliance Blog podcast, it's where I do most of my interviews now. We're on Spotify, which is also, it caters out to this YouTube channel. It's also on iHeartRadio, the Apple Podcasts. Basically, anywhere you can listen to podcasts is where you can find me. Amazon, all those places. The problem with that, though, is more people watch on YouTube than listen on Spotify. So it's kind of like, do I keep producing content for that channel when it doesn't really generate much interest? But before I did that, back in the day, we were on Blog Talk Radio, which for those who were in the know, that used to be like the premier source for podcasts because you could literally take phone calls, right? People could call you and talk wrestling. So like, it wouldn't just be me talking to the camera and you guys listening in the chat. Like people would literally call in. They're 646-478-3198. That might be the number. I don't know if it still is. I don't know what it's connected to anymore, but I could literally talk to people who'd call in. And that's how Pacing Pete said, oh my God, I haven't heard that name, Blog Talk, in years. Yeah, that was the place to be. And back then, the NWA wasn't as big as it was, but I was treating it like it was a big deal even back then. So all of the NWA like wrestlers and the promoters, they not only did they want to be on the show, but I think they were like my core audience because we get like thousands of listens on Blog Talk Radio. I'm like, who's listening to this? Who's listening to this? But yeah, that's where that goes. Wiccan asked me about the Blue Demon plush. Yeah, I got this one in Mexico. I got it in Tijuana. I go to Lucha Libre events about 4 or 5 times a year down in TJ. And Blue Demon's one of my favorites too. He's a former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. Former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. Sorry, guys, work stuff. He won the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, took the title, defended the title in the UK, defended the title in Spain, defended the title, I believe, in Canada, of course, all over the United States, a couple times in Mexico, oddly enough, and held the title for like almost 3 years. And while he was world champion, the NWA was kind of going through a growth phase. They were having events all over the Southwest. And great. He was a great champion. I felt like he didn't get enough respect in the NWA. A lot of the promoters, and I like literally heard a promoter say this, I don't know how to book a guy in a mask and who doesn't, it was probably racially motivated, but said can't speak English when obviously Blue Demon could speak English. And I think that was a huge step back for at least that area and that promoter, because there are Spanish-speaking people all over the United States. It was wild to me that someone would have it take like, oh, I don't want to book a luchador because I don't know how to book a luchador. I was like, that sounds like a very short-sighted, terrible way to think of things. Let's see. Holly Swag looks like trailer park trash. I mean, I'm glad you said it because I wouldn't say that. Holly Swag, I think she just recently appeared for the competitive slap fighting thing. I don't know what it's called, but so did our pal Mecha Wolf, as well as a couple other wrestlers. Kind of branch out, try to do something different. I know Sin Bodhi was instrumental in getting a lot of the guys involved with that, so we'll see about that. Let's see. In your opinion, who is the most underrated NWA champ of all time? I mean, so when you really have to look at things like from a broad perspective, because every world champion essentially carried that title to the next champion, right? You know, if someone says like, who is the greatest NWA world champion of all time? Sometimes you'll hear Luthez, sometimes you'll hear Ric Flair, or you know, Harley Race, or some of the other popular ones are like Dusty Rhodes or Kerry Von Erich, or even like modern day AJ Styles or Jeff Jarrett. But I think there's something to be said about the guys who carried that belt when the NWA had significantly less value. I mean, in 93, unceremoniously, Shane Douglas throws the 10 pounds of gold to the ground, causing the NWA to be without a champion for nearly an entire calendar year. They crowned Chris Candido as the next champion. Now, Chris Candido does not have the same, same cash that Shane Douglas had, did not have the same career that Shane Douglas had, but he was pretty damn good. And I feel like Candido doesn't get enough credit for carrying that title in a time when people weren't talking about the NWA. And then on top of that, Scrap Iron Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce was NWA World Champion at a time where people weren't really talking about the NWA. And not only was he the World Heavyweight Champion at a down time for the brand, but he was taking that title places that it hadn't been seen in years. He was the guy that took that title to Australia. He was the guy that took that title to Germany. He was the guy that was defending the belt in Mexico, in Canada, and all over the United States. Things we take for granted now from our world champion, he was doing, and not with the benefit of Billy Corgan paying his way. You know, he was booking himself. He didn't have an office booking him. He booked himself and got himself over. So to me, I think it's got to be Adam Pearce as probably the most underrated NWA World Heavyweight Champion. There's a lot of good guys out there. A lot of guys that we could talk about it too. And Sean, who's on TikTok, he just said Dan Severn was champion at a downtime for the NWA. Look, no joke, Sean. If it wasn't for Dan the Beast Severn winning that NWA World's Heavyweight Championship and subsequently getting booked on WWE programming, like we wouldn't even have the NWA today. Like it was down to literally like 2 members. And it was rough. It was really, really rough. And having the NWA appear on the Monday night programming, on Monday Night Raw, you know, at first it was Jim Cornette with Jeff Jarrett as the NWA North American champion and the Rock and Roll Express as the NWA tag team champions. And they were able to wrangle in guys like Barry Windham eventually joined the group. And then they got rid of Ricky and Robert and it brought in Bodacious Bart and Beautiful Billy, or whatever they were calling them, as the new Midnight Express. Like, it was terrible in terms of booking, in terms of storyline, in terms of creativity, but it literally saved the NWA. Like, then you got guys like Joe Price jumping on board. You got Ed Schumann jumping on board. You know, and that was at a point when there was like, Sam says, who were the 2 members? I believe the 2 members at the time, I could be mistaken, but the 2 members at the time were Howard Brody, and Dennis Corluzzo. And pretty soon after Severn debuts on Raw, then you got like Ken Taylor, Ed Schumann, Mike Porter. Let's see, who else can I pull? Fred Rubenstein. There's a lot of guys that came on board after the fact, and that's what kept the NWA alive. It was two guys. It was literally Howard Brody, and it was Howard Brody, and it was Dennis Corluzzo. And Corluzzo really was holding that NWA legacy up. Corluzzo was the guy that ultimately got screwed by ECW, but specifically Shane Douglas and Paul Heyman. But I mean, they kept it going. All right, you guys got me going here, man. I could talk NWA all day. If we could go, this is my wheelhouse. This is where I was in 2 documentaries, guys. Sorry. Why did Blue Demon not get booked as NWA champion? Kind of as I was saying, Sam, like he was sad to say Lucha Libre did not have the same appeal that it has today. And anyone who didn't speak English and wore a mask, and obviously Demon can speak English, but it's not his native language, like people just looked down upon. And it was stupid because the guy could work. And I saw him have some really good matches with a lot of people. But yeah, it basically just came down to politics. People didn't want to use him as world champion. Dave Marquez got behind him. Not only did Dave Marquez book him throughout the Southwest on basically the same, venues that were larger than what the NWA is in now. Venues that were like 1,500 or 15,000. It was like, I get there's a huge jump there, but they had like a lot of they worked it so that it didn't look bad. But there was a lot of venues. Like I remember being at an NWA event back in what year was that? Like 2006 in Las Vegas. No, 2007 or maybe 8. Now memory's not serving me well. I think it was 2008, and they were at the same venues that ROH was running at the time. And yeah, Sean mentions on TikTok what Shane did was throwing down the belt was huge back then. It nearly killed the company. Like it literally and then the way that the ECW manipulated the situation, they recorded video with Dennis Corluzzo, and he was like, yeah, we're not going to recognize Shane Douglas as our world champion, or you're forced to work for us, Shane Douglas. We are under contract, and it was just never panned out. It was pretty bad. He only got booked by Lucha-ish promotions. Yeah, I mean, really, he got booked by David Marquez and the promotions that were associated with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. So at the time, there was Pro Wrestling Revolution up in Northern California, which was a 100% Lucha-based promotion. He got booked, with Dave Marquez doing the tours from, Kissimmee, Florida, Hidalgo, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, Las Vegas, Nevada, all of that stuff. So, I mean, he was getting booked regularly, but not by the promoters of the NWA. And it was, I think that hurt them more than it hurt Blue Demon. And I apologize, Idiotic Central. I don't know what Diogo Jota is. I don't know what that is. Sorry. Sean, yeah, the TNA Impact deal did bring new life into the NWA 100%. 100%. That's what kept the NWA alive after the WWE deal. Because, again, it was falling on hard times, Daddy. Hard times. Brent Albright won the title at Madison Square Garden. I think that's pretty damn cool. That was one of the best moments for the NWA at that time, too. Winning it at Madison Square Garden meant a lot. Nick Aldis was supposed to defend the title, or, depending on who you want to believe, win the title back from Cody Rhodes at Madison Square Garden. No, I'm sorry, not Madison Square Garden. It wasn't Madison Square Garden. It was, no. It was not Madison Square Garden. I got that wrong. It was the Hammerstein Ballroom. Hammerstein, not Madison Square Garden. Aldis was supposed to either defend or challenge for the title at Madison Square Garden during that ROH New Japan Super Show. but the creation of All In kind of kiboshed all that stuff. Where are the NWA as far as rankings for wrestling promotions? Well, I mean, if we're going to be completely honest, we got to like call it is what it is. You know, if the WWE is here in terms of popularity, in terms of money that it makes, everyone else is down here, right? Like it's not even close. Now, AEW is doing a lot of good work and a lot of interesting things, and the promotion itself, there's a lot of great talent involved, but it's not at the same level as the WWE. Not yet. It's only been like 7 years. Give them time, and we'll see what happens. And then, like, after AEW, I think immediately following AEW, it's probably New Japan. And I know that, like, hey, that's a Japanese promotion, but they run in the United States. And I think New Japan Strong, you know, TNA, New Japan Strong, you know, if TNA had a better TV deal, it would be significantly different. But right now, they're kind of neck and neck. Then you've got MLW, you've got the NWA, you've got United Wrestling Network. And that's kind of where I would slot them, like, maybe just above the United Wrestling Network in terms of notoriety and the venues that it runs. But it is not a huge wrestling promotion by any stretch. It's a part-time wrestling promotion. The NWA is part-time right now. Until they're running like every week or every month, how could you call them anything but a part-time wrestling promotion? Let's see. I missed a lot of you guys' comments. What's up, everybody? Hey, Paladin's in the chat. Paladin, where you been, man? Hope you're doing all right. Have missed you in the chats. Welcome back. Double D's here. What's up, Double D? Yeah, you guys are all saying, Paladin says TNA is on fire right now, too. Yeah, they are. And they're putting out a good product, but I feel like the lack of a credible American television channel is what's hurting them, because I know they have a huge following up in Canada. That I think they replaced the WWE on the channel that WWE was on in Canada. That was a huge get for them. You remember WWE internationally is on Netflix now. So Raw is on Netflix. SmackDown, I think, is also on Netflix internationally. But nationally, in the U.S., it's still on Sci-Fi. Mitt wants to go toe-to-toe for the NWA 10 pounds of gold. I'm not up for that, Mitt. I was in the gym training today, and I'm exhausted. Billy's doing a good job, in my opinion, with a crowded wrestling scene like it is at the moment. Sean, I will agree to disagree with you on that. Look, I'm very thankful that Billy Corgan purchased the NWA, because it was in another downward spiral. At one point, a lot of us had concerns that the NWA wouldn't survive. There was talk that the then promoter, president of the NWA, Bruce Tharp, was in talks to sell the NWA to the WWE, and talks to sell the NWA to New Japan Pro Wrestling. And he would have sold the NWA to almost anybody, but Billy Corgan came around. Billy Corgan bought the NWA when his attempt to buy TNA Wrestling fell through. What Billy brings to the NWA is, some experience and money and, contacts. But in terms of how he promotes, I don't give him a lot of credit for the venues that they run. I give a lot of credit to people that he employs. Now, I guess by saying that, I do give him credit because he's got the right people in there. But at the same time, if you've watched Power lately, it's rough. Yeah, he almost defended In the Garden in New York City. Yeah. And I mean, I think he did defend in Toronto too. Paladin points out that CMLL has been around for 90 years. Yeah, CMLL wins, right? Because there hasn't been an existing wrestling promotion for 90 years. Now, the NWA was close with 77 years as a wrestling sanctioning body. And it kind of has, Billy has reverted back to calling it a sanctioning body for the National Wrestling Alliance. But at one point, he was just calling it a single wrestling promotion. And then the NWA, until Bruce Tharp, was never one single entity. It was always a membership. There was members of the NWA. There was Jim Crockett Promotions. There was, out here where I live in California, there's NWA Hollywood. There was NWA Big Time. There was NWA Portland. There was NWA Florida. There was NWA Mid-Atlantic. There was all these different pieces. And the NWA was never a single entity until probably 2012 when Bruce Tharp won a lawsuit. And instead of a transition of cash, right? Instead of someone signing a check to him, they signed over their IP. So it went from the NWA, at the time it was called Pro Wrestling Organization, LLC. That company got sued by Bruce Tharp and his partners, who started the International Wrestling Corporation, LLC, and they took over the NWA. And that's how Bruce got in charge of the NWA. And then instead of having members, he had one single entity that he was the president of. And instead of having members of the NWA, he had licensees. Now we have a territory system. But again, don't get it twisted. Billy Corgan's not giving up ownership of the NWA. These are members of a territory who are running under a licensing agreement similar to what Bruce Tharp had. Probably a little bit more lenient. Probably a little bit less financially motivated. You know, I think we've got Billy using territories more to his advantage, less financially. Paladin said second golden era of wrestling thanks to Tony Khan. I mean, you say Tony Khan, I say Young Bucks and Cody, right? Because if there was no All In, there wouldn't be an All Elite Wrestling right now. Idiotic Central says WWE, AEW, TNA, New Japan, NWA. I think you're being very kind to the NWA on that one. I think you're being very kind. The NWA, again, I'm a diehard NWA fan, but I don't think they're number 5. I would put New Japan above TNA Wrestling for sure. But then I guess if you're just talking about in the United States, I guess TNA going over New Japan would probably make sense. But still, I'd probably put MLW on top of the NWA. MLW runs way more, has they do more business. They're less part-time than the NWA. Since Cody left, you can tell a difference in AEW. And that's going to be true, right? It's going to be true. What wrestler made you love the NWA or wrestling as a whole? Okay, so I'm a kid of the 80s. I was born in 1978. I'm 46 years old. I'm not a young man by any stretch. I grew up watching Hulk Hogan. I grew up watching The Ultimate Warrior. I fell in love with the Road Warriors. I love the Steiner brothers. Sting was an amazing guy. Who made me fall in love with wrestling? Probably Owen Hart. Who made me fall in love with the NWA? It's Stan to be Severn. I don't know that I could tell you that I love the NWA as a kid. Like I loved Sting and I loved the Road Warriors and I loved Lex Luger and Dusty Rhodes and I loved all of that. But again, like I wasn't watching the NWA until about 87. And at that point, I didn't get to see a lot of the wrestling that was popular today. Not popular today, but popular in the 80s. So I didn't see Ric Flair with the Dome Globe. I didn't see the Dome Globe until I was playing with my AWA Remco figures that came with a belt stylized as the 10 pounds of gold. And so when I got to see Severn go into the octagon with that same title that I knew was synonymous with Ric Flair, that I remember from my AWA Remco figures, that made me stand up and pay attention. It's like, holy crap. Let's see. Hold on a second. Emily's going to All In Texas. That sounds like it's going to be great. If I can't go to Texas for All In, but if it came here, I would definitely go. Dave Scooby says, Danny and Slice teaming as 5150 again. Would you like to see them in the NWA for a few taping shows to add to the tag division? First of all, 100%, right? Big Danny Limelight fan. Slice Boogie's a solid talent too. We saw Slice Boogie in the NWA for a cup of coffee in the big time, and that video they literally tagged the NWA in that video. At the very least, I'd love to see him make a Crockett Cup appearance. Obviously, they already did the Crockett Cup this year, so it'd be next year's Crockett Cup. I think they're such a good tag team. I watched them with MLW. I saw them wrestle in AAA in Mexico. Yeah, Danny and Slice would be a great addition to any tag team, and I'm here for it. If the NWA was smart, why not bring back the 5150? Why not bring him in? Hell, put him with Homicide. He can manage them. I can't wait to see it if it happens. I'm not going to hold my breath for it, but yeah, and a company that is sorely missing out on tag teams. But then when you think about it now I got to pump the brakes because I'm thinking, Danny and Slice versus Murnox. Well, that's a loss. Danny and Slice versus the Immortals. Well, that's a loss. Danny and Slice versus BFT. Like, that doesn't look good for them either. So I don't know if they fit in. You got to remember, Danny Limelight's a junior heavyweight. And Sean Mega has just said on TikTok, don't waste Danny in a tag team. Yeah, put Danny should be in the junior heavyweight division. Danny should be challenging Alex Taylor for the junior heavyweight title. But then, what's going to happen to the junior heavyweight division? I don't know. There's a lot of things going on. Paladin says, I'm fine, Jay. I like to watch the show sometimes without chatting. I rather miss the stream, rest assured. That's great to hear, Paladin. And I please don't take that the wrong way. I just hope you're good, man. I hadn't seen you in the chat in a while, so I'm glad to see you here. Willie said Mike Rapata, the Colorado Kid, was an underrated NWA World Heavyweight Champion. I mean, Mike Rapata, you got to give that guy credit for keeping that belt alive. I've always said, like, the next champion is the most important champion because they're going to keep the NWA brand alive. And in a time when Steve Corino was gone and before Hashimoto came back to the NWA, actually, I take it back. Rapata ended up losing the title to Corino, so I'm a little backwards there. But Severn was gone from the NWA. You needed someone to carry that title, and Rapata was that guy. And remember, Rapata was still doing dark matches for WCW Saturday Night. He was on the enhancement squad, so he was keeping the NWA alive in more than one way. So I don't hate him. AEW can't take that next step as long as TK has like 90% of ex-WWE wrestlers champions. There's some truth to that. Let's see. TNA robbed Billy. Well, tried to. I mean, they did, right? They did. And he sued them for it. Honestly, I wish Billy would have bought TNA Wrestling. Man. The NWA, it's such a weird phenomenon because when Billy bought the NWA, we were all excited, myself included. I'm not going to lie to you. Let's take it a step back. The NWA under Bruce Tharpe, the first thing he did as the owner of the NWA is started to work with New Japan Pro Wrestling. That resulted in Rob Conway. That resulted in Rob Conway defending the 10 pounds of gold at Wrestle Kingdom. The 10 pounds of gold was at Wrestle Kingdom, the Tokyo Dome. So for that very reason right there, you cannot take a doo-doo on anything that Bruce Tharpe did. He tried. He efforted, man. He tried to get that NWA World title seen. He had those NWA wrestlers in Japan. He had Japanese wrestlers come in the U.S. It was a decent relationship, but it was very one-sided. The NWA was gaining everything. New Japan was not really getting much out of it. And I believe that there was a lot of, I believe there's a lot of posturing and trying to get things that should not have happened. But getting the 10 pounds of gold on a Wrestle Kingdom was a huge, huge deal. Having, Hiroshi Tenzin or Satoshi Kojima wrestling for the 10 pounds of gold, big deal. Having Jushin Thunder Liger win the junior heavyweight title for a second time, huge deal. Like, these are all big things that they were doing at the time, and we're talking like 2012, 2013. And these were huge steps for the NWA. So then when things started to dry up, that well started drying up, and you had Rob Conway's your world champion. He drops the belt to Tenzin. No, he drops the belt to Kojima. Kojima drops it back to Conway. Conway drops it to Tenzin. Tenzin drops it to Jack Stane. And that was like the end of the New Japan relationship. So Jack Stane was doing all that he could to keep the NWA spirit alive. And then he drops the belt to Tim Storm. Tim Storm and him had a huge rivalry for a very long time. And as you know, the New Japan deal kind of dried up, the territories were kind of drying up, the licenses were drying up, so the NWA had to sell. And it was a great time to sell because Billy Corgan was the guy who ended up buying it, and it changed everything. But then that relationship with the NWA going forward was kind of rough. Let's see. Paladin says, "What's wrong, Jay? You don't like gimps and midgets in your wrestling?" No, Paladin, I really don't. I don't. I wish that Billy would have learned his lesson, and we're still getting the same stuff, and it's kind of painful to watch sometimes. CG and now TK can't help himself but to add even more former WWE wrestlers from Isla Dawn, Elena Black, and Shotzi. So much for that new policy AEW had. I mean, are you complaining that Isla Dawn, Elena Black, and Shotzi are in AEW? Because I think those are great signings. It's adding a lot of depth to the women's division, although the women's division kind of suffers in AEW. TK's being more picky with what WWE talent they bring in new ever since Aleister Black left. That's smart because talent grows in AEW and then goes back to WWE. It's true. All right. The Elite couldn't do nothing without TK money. They're both sides of that coin are true, because where was TK before All In? I mean, TK had that money, and Sinclair had put Sinclair had put Ring of Honor up for sale more than one time. He could have bought ROH well before AEW. You know, he could have bought Ring of Honor before Sinclair bought AEW. So I mean, you needed one to have the other. All right, I'm getting to everyone's comments. We're doing a lot of AEW talk today, which I don't normally do on this hour, but it is what it is. They can beat the Slime Ballz. Okay, that's fair. Sam Retro says LAX versus the Six. LAX versus the Colognes. Well, again, I think we're calling them 5150 because they're not technically the LAX without Conan. Malcolm, what is up, Malcolm? Good to see you. Just throwing this out there, I'd like to see the Authors of Pain in NWA Wrestling. I think that'd be a great get for them. I think that'd be a huge get. Wiccan says, I'm a little bit older. The original Rock Don Morocco was the first match I saw. I loved watching Muda with Gary Hart. Yeah, man. Muda and Gary Hart was something special. Something special. Sean Megan says he doesn't know anything about AEW. And everyone over on TikTok still calling me Kevin Owens. I can't crash out right now. We're doing a show over here. Trying to be professional. Sam Retro said Billy's TNA sucked. Billy ran that in Power Show once and never again. He learned what WWE already knew. All women pay-per-view don't sell. Well, they're doing it again, Paladin. That's right. When Road Warriors turned on Dusty and used the spike on him, that was pretty fun. That was a good time to be a fan. I saw Muda's last tag match with Sting. I got to see Sting's last. What match was it? No, I didn't see his final match, but I saw him win the tag titles with what's his name? Oh, you guys are gonna kill me for not remembering his name. The guy that climbs up the hill, the mountain. Double D's in the house. I enjoyed Empower a lot more than NWA 73. Wow. That's some serious. Darby Allin. Thank you, Dad Nerd Dude. Darby. Thank you, Sean. You guys got me. Yeah, I got to see Sting win the tag titles in Phoenix, Arizona with Darby Allin. I just happened to be in Phoenix for business, so it was like, oh, there's an AEW event? Cool, I'll check it out. And it's funny because today I even made a post on TikTok, and I was like, I consider myself a casual AEW fan. I'm not a huge AEW fan. I mean, they've got two of my favorite wrestlers in Samoa Joe and Scorpio Sky on the roster, but I'd still call myself a casual AEW fan. But I've now seen AEW in 3 different states and like 5 different cities, like Inglewood, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Los Angeles, and then most recently Ontario. And that was like 6 different shows in 5 different cities and 3 different states for one promotion, AEW, that I call myself a casual fan of. So that's kind of funny. Let's see. All right. All right, we talked a lot about AEW. In fact, we've been talking more AEW than anything else in the last 40 minutes. So let's get to some more NWA talk, right? Because the clock is ticking. Oh, wait, I got to see this real quick. Double D says, I didn't get to see Sting wrestle, but in May 2020, I saw him and manage Darby versus Jeff Hardy. It's weird, right? Because Darby Allin would have been the perfect, Darby Allin is not Sting. He's not as tall as Sting. He's not as athletic as Sting. He's not as big as Sting. His wrestling style is different than Sting. The only thing they have in common is the face paint, right? And even that, it's not the same. But he is the heir apparent to that legacy that Sting had, where Sting was the face of WCW. Even when Hogan came in to WCW, Sting was still the face of the franchise. And I kind of feel like that's Darby Allin with AEW. Like, it doesn't matter who wins the world title next. We know Moxley has the belt right now. We know that this weekend at All In, not Adam Cole, Adam Page will challenge for the AEW world title in the Texas Death Match. And that's cool. But even if Hangman Page wins the title, I still don't think of him as the face of AEW. I still think of Darby Allin. Okay. All right. WC Taz on TikTok says Darby Allin is more athletic than Sting. Are we talking about Sting in 1987, or are we talking Sting in 2025? Because I'll give it to you that 2025, Sting was not in the best athletic shape. But if you go back to Sting's career, battling Ric Flair in 87, nah, man, I can't agree with you on that. Athleticism is more than just jumping off of ropes. In 87, Sting was doing stinger splashes. He was diving across the ropes. He was built like a brick house, right? He was huge. I can't agree that Darby was more athletic than Sting in 87. I just can't. You're right. It is also more than having big muscles, but the guy could actually wrestle too. And go back and watch some of Sting's matches where he was doing the suicide dives before they were really popular. Go back and watch him doing like dives into the ring post, those stinger splashes. Like, he was moving around the ring like a junior heavyweight when he's legitimately a heavyweight. Can't agree with that. All right, let me get back to this. Sting mentored him as soon as he got in AEW the whole time. Yeah, and like I said, there are parallels between the two, and I'm not trying to throw Darby Allin and say he's not good. I'm not trying to say that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that Darby Allin is similarly is the face of the franchise. What's up, Ben? How you doing? And then Double D said, last night Scoop predicted where Rick Rude would be today. What do you think? Rick Rude was so underrated. Rick Rude should have been a multi-time world champion. Remember, he was going to be NWA world champion, and WCW and the NWA board of directors could not come to terms on that title switch, which was effectively ended the agreement with the NWA and WCW. There's no reason that Rick Rude should have been a bigger star than he was, other than he got hurt. And it's similarly like I think about Steve Austin. Steve Austin gets that pile driver from Owen Hart, requires surgery, nearly got paralyzed. Similarly, Steve Austin did a pile driver on who was it? Masahiro Chono in New Japan, and subsequently paralyzed him too. So that move is just a cursed move anyways. But it just generally seemed like if Austin had never gotten hurt, we would have seen a different Stone Cold Steve Austin. And on TikTok, Sean says Austin changed his whole style after the Owen pile driver. 100%. He had to. And Rick Rude, his injury was so significant that he had to stop wrestling. And yeah, he might have been able to come back, but there was also a huge settlement involved with that injury, which prevented him from wrestling. Now, who knows, maybe at some point down the road, he might have come back to the ring, but, he also passed away prematurely. Same thing with Curt Hennig. Curt Hennig came back to the WWE, was wrestling Brock Lesnar on dark matches. I mean, I don't know what would have happened with Rick Rude, but I really feel like he could have been something special for sure. And I feel like everybody missed the ball on him because he should have been the world champion everywhere. But I'd say the same thing about the $1 Million Man. I'd say the same thing about Jake the Snake Roberts, and I'd say something similar about Roddy Piper. Those guys all should have been multiple-time world champions. Varsity Club in the NWA was awesome. I loved Rick Steiner in that role. Dr. Death Steve Williams replaced Steiner when Steiner went babyface, and Woman became his girlfriend, and they screwed him over. The Varsity Club was cool. I didn't need Kevin Sullivan associated with it as this demonic taskmaster for a group of collegiate wrestlers. Like, you had Mike Rotunda representing Syracuse. You had Dr. Death representing Oklahoma. You had Rick Steiner representing Michigan. It was dope. That was a cool stable. They brought in who did they bring in? Dan Spivey. But again, I think if my memory serves me correctly, they kicked out Steiner and brought in Dr. Death, and it was still a great group. And I remember they beat the Road Warriors, and I was a kid, and I was sad. I was like, oh, man, screw those guys. But that was a dope stable. I very much enjoyed that. Yeah, Ben, he did lose the Intercontinental title to the Ultimate Warrior, but, I think Rick Rude should have been a World Heavyweight Champion. And then Sean brings up the Dangerous Alliance back in the day, which, when you think about how good the Dangerous Alliance was and who was on that roster, right? Because you had Steve Austin as the second to Rick Rude, right? And then you put Bobby Eaton and Arn Anderson as a tag team, and then later you put Larry Zbyszko with Arn Anderson. It was a dope group. Dangerous Alliance for sure. And then they had Medusa in that stable too. Really good stuff. Violation warning. Your live is flagged for hate speech and hateful behaviors. Why would I get flagged for hate speech and hateful behaviors? What did I say? Must have been talking about Billy Corgan too much. I hope Hangman loses to Mox so Darby can be the one to dethrone him. I needed the belt off of Moxley, honestly. Moxley's killing me right now. I wouldn't hate that Double D. Yeah, I need Mox to lose the belt. In what world does it make sense that your world champion's hiding that title? And why is he hiding that title? I hope when they open up the briefcase, the belt is just destroyed. So, Ben, I will probably watch Saturday night's main event just because I don't want to pay for All In. If it was on Max for free, I think I'd watch it. Wasn't he supposed to be the next big thing, but got knocked out in that boxing match? Yeah. It's honestly like that brawl for it all really kind of messed up Dr. Death, but I don't know what their plans were for him anyways. They didn't do much with Bam Bam Gordy, so I don't know what they would have done with Dr. Death. Willie, honestly, I thought Chronic was cool. Like, I was a younger guy at the time, and seeing Brian Adams and Brian I can't remember the other. It was Crush and the Night Stalker were a tag team, and they looked cool. They wrestled cool. He's on his Adam Bomb. He's on TikTok still. They were Brian Clark. And I thought that they were awesome. And in fact, when WCW finally closed down, there was this offshoot promotion called World Wrestling All-Stars. That was mostly a Australian-based wrestling promotion. They came back to the U.S., did a one show in Las Vegas, and I got to see my friends, the Navajo Warrior and his tag team partner GQ Gallo took on Chronic and got destroyed by him. But it was fun. Oh, you're right, Wiccan. Oh man, I can't say Steve Williams' nickname anymore. That's a bummer. Bucksby, Ospreay, Swerve is pissed he can't have a title shot. Then the Virginian Cowboy can't win it if I can't. That would be some amazing stuff, Double D. That'd be amazing. Gojo, it's cool, man. I can't crash out because I'm doing my live stream on YouTube as well. Hopefully that's not considered hate speech. Adam Baum was great. Loved his gear. Adam Baum was awesome. I loved him too. I remember him as the Night Stalker when he was part of Diamond Dallas Page's group. And the Night Stalker replaced Scott Hall, who back then was, what was Scott Hall's name? I don't think he was just Scott Hall. The Diamond Stud, of course. The Diamond Stud. And all right. So if we've talked so much about it, but tonight, of course, NWA POWERRR, which airs in about 3 minutes over on the app that used to be a bird. They are going to have the last episode of the Hard Times signature live event, Hard Times number 5. And tonight we get to see, finally, everybody's favorite wrestler but mine, Carson Bartholomew Drake, challenge Thom Latimer for the 10 pounds of gold. I think that match is going to be excellent. Not because Carson Drake, but because Thom Latimer's so good that he could carry a decent match out of Carson Drake. I also think that it's going to be a fun match, not a good match, but a fun match. Cody Waffle, you son of a biscuit. I think it's going to be a fun match when we have we're going to have the tag team champions Murnox defending against the Slime Ballz. I feel like that's going to be a very good, entertaining match. It's not going to be good. I think the Slime Ballz are going to get their butts kicked, but I think it'll be fun. And, Slime Ballz have, I'll say this, where you all thought Carson Drake would grow on me, he has not. The Slime Ballz did. Slime Ballz really manned up at the Crockett Cup. You guys will see that footage hopefully starting next week on Power. But they really, really looked good. And I don't have enough nice things to say about them, which is crazy for me, I know. But they really looked good on that in the Crockett Cup. They don't win the Crockett Cup, spoiler alert, but they looked really good at the Cup. Guys, we were all over the place today. Yeah, Paladin, I did hear about Camille and the Gladiators along with Wardlow, Mr. Spectacular, and a few other guys from the WWE. I'm going to watch. I'll check it out. I got Amazon Prime. I'll check it out. But we're going to wrap it up here and now because it's so close to the start time for Power. So, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I always appreciate you talking wrestling with me on a Tuesday. Of course, this has been the pre-party. I almost said the Alliance, guys. This has been the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You could check us out on all social media at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we'll see you at the match. Thanks for checking out the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You should hit that subscribe button and join our community. I also want to remind you that we recap NWA POWERRR every Thursday at 8 p.m. in the live stream. We try to stay social, so find us at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we are the Alliance.